The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by SciFi Donuts, Ray's Movers and Storage, Inc., and Tiger Plumbing.
Hello, welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show, coming to you from the Porter County Sheriff's Office. And with us, of course, we have the Porter County Sheriff David Reynolds, who is going to talk to us today about the school security initiatives that they've started here in Porter County that you'll find that are very innovative, both not within the state, but nationwide. So, Dave, welcome to our show once again. And it's been, well, not too long. For a while, you used to be my co-host almost. So, if you will, why don't you take us on a tour of the school security initiatives that Porter County has initiated, specifically the active event warning, and give us an idea of what's going on.
Well, thanks for being here at the Sheriff's Office. This is my fourth year, or my fourth term. My first year, my fourth term. But when I came back on my third term, I was elected to the president of the Safe School Commission for Porter County. And one of the things right off the bat was that we needed to address school security and school safety. And so there was a lot of debate around not only the office of the sheriff, but the Safe School Commission on doing something different that hasn't been done before, and address some of the needs regarding school safety. And one of the first things that was brought up by an officer was Hero 911, which was an app. It was an alert app that law enforcement would have. So the way it would work is that if someone from a school who has an attached adjoining app, which was School Guard, and they would alert in case of an emergency the Hero 911 app. And that really kind of caught my attention. And we did a lot of due diligence, and this was almost 4 years ago that we looked into this app, and this app was actually free for police, Hero 911. So when notified, anyone with the app, on duty, off duty, local, state, federal police officers would be notified, and we really like that. And especially if you look at, as now we're going to get into how this is kind of touched throughout the state, but in Porter County we have two big cities, but we have a lot of rural counties, and we're basically 50-50 rural and urban, and so we have areas that are not remote, but they're somewhat secluded in the sense that they're basically defined as rural, and so we thought, having the ability to notify law enforcement from even adjoining police departments was very appealing. Like Hebron's closer to Crown Point. Ported some of their schools. Wheeler is closer to Lake County and closer to Hobart. So that's one of the first things we did, was that we went and we tried to get everyone downloading the Hero 911 app from law enforcement, and obviously we got a very good response from law enforcement. Everybody, I think we had over 700 officers download the app, state, local, and federal, all state police. But then that opened up another issue, is that it really wasn't going to be effective unless we had the partnered app, which was School Guard. And then we looked at, in Porter County, we have 7 school districts. We have 7 separate school districts. We approach them with the idea that if we could get the money, of course, when we approached this problem, it was in a school year. They've already got a budget. They didn't have any money allocated for this an alert system for schools. So we had to get the money. But first of all, we had to see if they'd be interested in doing it. So we had all 7 school systems, all 7 school superintendents were very much in favor of it. Now, going back to the Safe School Commission, I can't really emphasize the importance of the Safe School Commission and their involvement in all of what I'm going to basically explain to you now in the next few minutes. They were intricately and supportive of what we did. And so the school systems all agreed. But then when we did this, we also approached daycare centers. We also approached the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. A lot of them are a part of our Safe School Commission. And all of the smaller schools, the private schools, your Catholic schools, Emmanuel Lutheran, Victory Christian, Fairhaven, all of which were very interested in doing this. And we secured $80,000 through seizure money from the sheriff's office, and the Mayor Costas Valparaiso gave the remaining money. He basically funded all of the schools in Valpo.
Wow. So
that helped. That allowed us then to get the school guard. So we then set this up. Now, while we're doing this, we were doing a few other things all at the same time. We were establishing the alert system, but then we were approached by some of the school systems and asked us to review their safe school policy, and we said, sure, we'll look into that. Well, we got into that, and that was overwhelming. We found that there were 77 schools, and each had their own safe school policy. So you had all these elementary schools and different school systems, each had their safe school protocols, and it was attempted over the last several years to deal with this, and no one could figure it out. Mm. And we certainly had problems with it too at the beginning. And then we went to we reduced the entire basically safe school planned or plans for every individual school, and we reduced it to 1 page. And then from that, we put it on a poster. So that's what I brought in here today.
Which we'll overlay on a graphic on the video. But
that's the poster.
People are probably going to be more interested in looking at this than me.
So if you go to any school in Porter County, it would be corresponding to their school colors. But it's the same. It's what's on that poster is on every school. So, and we refer to this as one county, one protocol. So we're all doing it the same way. And we talk about lockouts, lockdowns. But there's one thing on that poster that is not involved. It has not been addressed in any of the previous school plans. Is what to do in case of an active shooter, and that's what, and we actually included that in the corner, top left corner. What to do with, we don't call it a shooter, we call it an assailant, but we're basically putting it out there on what to do with in case of an emergency. Now, nothing against the fire approach. I mean, if you in one of our I think one of the things that we've addressed is the fact that there hasn't been a school fire since 1958. And however, if you build any new schools, you have to comply with codes, you have to comply with all of the fire alarms and the fire extinguishers and the sprinkler systems, and it's multi-million dollars. And I'm not taking it away from any of that, it's all important. But nowhere when you build a school do they talk about school safety. Now they're starting to change that a little bit. And I think what we've done in the last couple of years is we got people thinking now that they need to address that too. I mean, we can get on a soapbox and say, oh, it's a sad commentary that we're in this state, this type of state that we're doing it. But we have to really face reality. This is reality. This is what's going on in the country now, and for whatever reason, we have people that have gone into schools and taken the lives of students and teachers, and mental health is an issue, a part of it. There's a lot of explanations, but one of the things law enforcement needs to address is that's our concern, but our main concern is how we can harden these schools and we come up with a system that in case of a shooting, we can get there as quick as possible. And because time is lives. And so that's kind of what we've done. Over the last 4 years, we've created a one county, one protocol mentality. We've got the support of all 7 school superintendents. We've got, for the most part, all of the teachers are downloading it. Of course, there's always concerns about downloading something on their phone, and are we accessing them, and are we watching them? And believe me, we are not watching them.
Do you have time to watch them?
No.
Their life's really that interesting anyway.
But those are the things that we've heard, and it's when we go to these individual schools, we're talking about this is a tool to keep you and your students safe. And I think once they understand the history, what we're trying to do, then they come around pretty easy. So we're real proud of what we've done and what we've accomplished in Porter County. We know it's not the panacea. We know there's always more work to be done. But I think one of the reasons it's worked is that we work together. We've been very transparent on how we're approaching school safety, and we brought in so many different experts and about like we have a guy from True Armor who can put in bullet resistant glass, because we know in Sandy Hook the doors were locked, but the guy shot the window and he walked right in. We know just last year in Richmond, a 13-year-old shot the window and walked in. So you need to address that too, and those are things that we're dealing with. Valpo right now, I think, is the leader of the bunch because they got of all the school systems, in a sense that they got that big referendum a couple years ago, and they really did a great job in remodeling all their schools and making them much more secure. They put in a camera system that is just second to none. And that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about too, is the access of the cameras. But how we approach this, we went from the policy, the one county, one protocol. We have the alert system. We meet monthly. We talk about reunification. We talk about we did a tabletop exercise about a year ago. We're working on something now this summer again, because we know it's all about training and teaching not only teachers and staff and administrators, but really students on what to do. We created a video 2 years ago that we're very proud of, because we think it covers. It was made not just for the student or the teachers, but for the students as a training tool, and we're showing that more and more. I just was selected on the National Sheriff Association Safe School Board. So we met in D.C. We're going to meet in Louisville next month. We're on monthly phone calls. And I really got on that board thinking I was going to really learn a lot and find out what they're doing throughout the country, in Arizona and in the South and out West. And we were going to get a lot of good ideas. And thus far, after a meeting in D.C. and the couple phone calls we've been on, is that they want to know what we're doing in Indiana. We're way ahead of the game as far as a lot of things. So they're learning from us, and they're still dealing with trying to get SROs and school resource officers into schools, so and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from the different sheriffs throughout the country. But right now, it appears that we're ahead of the curve regarding school safety. Yeah, so that's kind of exciting. And and I mentioned school resource officers when we took over East Porter. The sheriff's office this last year, started in August. So we have 3 officers that work under our model, which is part-time, but there's always at least 2 officers in the East Porter school systems. That's Couts, Couts, Morgan, and Washington. And then Union wanted an extra officer, so now we have 3 officers every day in Union, and we always had somebody in Boone, so Boone wanted more officers, so now we have 3 officers in Boone. And we took over Portage. We have 2 full-time officers in Portage and 2 part-time. So there's 4 officers there every day. We don't have the manpower to what I just told you to accommodate that. So what we did was we stuck with the part-time model, which all the school systems like, and we also opened it up to the state police and Department of Natural Resources, and I think we have a couple officers from Valpo that take part in all these schools. So we put them in, and thus far it's really been effective. It's something that we didn't really want to do. We really didn't want to go to Portage, but we were asked to go into Portage, so we couldn't say no. And the feedback we're getting. It's been very effective. One of the things they did ask us is that they wanted us to be nationally certified through NASR training, and to send all of these officers of Florida was a little bit. We couldn't figure out how to do that.
A little pricey.
So what we did was we brought the guy who teaches it from Florida. We brought him up here twice. And we've taught over 100, we've certified over 100 officers from the area. And we've got, in our own department, 37 officers that have NASR certified. Wow. So, which is pretty remarkable. Yeah. So everyone in all of these school systems are now NASR certified. So that's something, again, we're real proud of as far as school safety is concerned and what we're doing. And I don't know if you want me to talk about what we recently worked on in the last year with the new legislation or not.
Oh, sure. That's the House Bill 1225, right? Yeah. Please do, because that just is coming to fruition here. They're just voted on that. So yeah.
So I'm actually the vice president of the Sheriff Association for Indiana. So last year. Late last summer, I was approached by Representative Chuck Mosley from Portage and Representative Greg Sturwall from Hendricks County, and they were aware of what I kind of just alluded to regarding what we're doing in Porter County, and they were very interested. We actually did a sheriff's roundtable throughout the state last year, and they attended it, and they saw it. They had heard what we were doing in Porter County, and so they met with us on several occasions. We drove down to Indianapolis and talked about possibly writing some legislation that would make that would allow schools throughout the state to have an alert system similar to ours. Without using our vendor. I mean, basically they wanted it to draw up the specs that we think were important, and that would be up to the school system to pick who they wanted. More of a home rule type thing, and it not mandated, but they would allow the schools to have the money to put an alert system, which I thought was a tremendous idea. So after several meetings, the legislation was actually written on House Bill 1225. We went down about 2 months ago. We testified at the House committee, the subcommittee, and it got out of subcommittees like 14-0. Then a week after that, it went to the House and was 94-0. And then a couple weeks later, we went down to the Senate subcommittee, because that bill then goes to the Senate. And we testified on a few other bills, the Sheriff Association, regarding giving more money to the schools so they can fund these projects. And we were talking not only an alert system, but we were also talking cameras, access to schools, things that were all included in House Bill 1225. Now, when I went to the Senate, they were they asked a lot of questions. They were very positive, and after that hour or so, they passed that out of committee unanimously. And then just last week, it went through the Senate, and I don't know exact number. I think it was like 95-0, or whatever senators were there. They all voted for it, so no one voted against it. So currently, that bill is on the governor's desk, and we're asking for a formal signing with the sheriffs to be there. So we're pretty excited about that. Actually, Representative Sturwall is asking the governor if he was in the area and his schedule allowed it, is to come to the sheriff's office and sign the bill. So that's probably not going to happen, but it's just the idea that they're even thinking about doing that.
You're talking here.
They would come here. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. One of the things in the bill that's really important is that we've studied a lot of the school shootings throughout the country over the years since Columbine, and almost all schools now have cameras. And it's always been our contention is that who's watching these cameras? We know that if there's a shooting, if there's a major incident, they have to go get the cameras and get the recording and rewind it and find out what they saw, and it would assist them in their investigation, which it has, but no one is actually watching the cameras live or having that ability to do it. Now, there are school systems throughout the country that can monitor them. I don't know if they are or not. That we approached that a problem. We looked at maybe using our 911 to monitor it. But then after a lot of discussion with them and with us, we thought the best option would be for us to monitor it. And every department is different. They're set up different, some smaller, some larger. With us, we thought the best case scenario is actually in this room here. This is a conference room in the Detective Bureau. We have the availability in case of a shooting. Right now we have all our school systems have cameras. We can access right now currently Valparaiso, all the schools in Valparaiso. Within the next week or so we'll have the ability to monitor Portage. Then we're going to add Union, and then the rest of them will, ultimately what we'll have is we'll be able to monitor all the schools live. And
that's basically what we see back here, the monitors on board.
We're not monitoring it during the day, as you see, but this is in case of an event that we can come in here within seconds, turn it on. We bought the software to integrate to the schools. We can monitor all the doorways, the hallways, instantly, and we then have the ability to get on the radio and tell the responding units what we're seeing, and that's all we're doing. And until that event is neutralized or taken care of, then as soon as that happens, then we would be off the system, and it's all being recorded. But so that's good from an investigative standpoint, but we're not that concerned about the investigative point. What we want to do is if there was a shooting in a school, we want to make sure that we can reduce the response time as quick as possible. I mean, in any way we can do that. So if we can get on that radio, and I'll show you later. We're not going to, but we have a map of a diagram of the schools with the doors. So, and every door is marked, so we can tell the officers which door to go in, and then that opens up the other question of how to get in the doors, because all the doors are locked.
Right.
Okay, so we worked it out it's been about a year ago. We brought all the IT guys from all the school systems in a room, similar to this room. We all got into a room and we said, listen, can you work it out where my fob, the fob that I use to get into this building, can I use this fob to get into your schools? And it was done within a couple of days. And it cost absolutely no money. I mean, they just worked it out. And again, we have MOUs. So if anybody listening to this, we're regulated and that we're by the MOU that will allow us only to use this in case of an emergency. So we can't just go in any school or go on Sunday and play basketball in Hebron in the gym. So, but they all know we can get into school, because that's always been a contention. If the doors are locked and somebody's inside the school, how are we getting in?
Right.
And anyway, so with the help of the IT people in the schools, they were remarkable on working together. And that's part of, we put that into legislation because it's stuff that we've learned and worked through, and I think our approach is why reinvent the wheel if we think it's what we're doing is the right thing. We're not mandating any schools to do anything, but we're telling them this is what we're doing here, and it's working. And it's not only us now, but there's a lot of school systems in Lake County doing the same thing now. It's in Jasper County. Obviously, that's where we had the false alarm. And I never even approached them. They just saw what we were doing and they took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
It's in Stark County and Pulaski County. And I know LaPorte County has some type of an alert system. So, which is all great, you know. So, but one of the caveats of this whole system, and I can't overemphasize this, when someone activates a system, it notifies on duty, it notifies, it alerts 911, so it goes right to 911. So we're not circumventing 911, but it also notifies on duty, off duty, local, state, and federal, which 911 does not do. Okay, so you're getting the best of both worlds.
Sure.
You're notifying 911, which that's a good thing, but you're also notifying the guy cutting the grass or somebody driving down the street from a different jurisdiction, and he could be maybe within seconds of the building.
Sure.
You're letting him know. You know, we had to get clearances from different agencies. The FBI, DEA had to go to their home offices in DC to get the approval of this app. So they did the due diligence and they said, hey, this is a good thing. And so they all agreed to it. So it was a lot of work, but only in a sense that what was so rewarding is the fact that all of the school systems and everybody in the Safe School Commission we were always on the same page, and we're always trying to focus on our number one objective is to keep these schools safe and to keep the kids that are in the schools safe. And I mean, and I think right now, when we approached the legislators in the last month or so, they saw what we were trying to accomplish. And it's, I mean, we look at it as pretty simple, you know, but sometimes you have to get out of your silos, you have to get out of your own way sometimes and just say, hey, maybe we need to spend some money and some time to harden our schools. And it is something that people would prefer not talking about. We need to talk about.
Right.
You know, we need to deal with this. And then once we get over this, then there's so many other things that need to be addressed regarding mental health and regarding identifying students that have certain identifiers or certain characteristics that need to be addressed, that hey, these are potential kids that have some issues that they're at risk, and we need to identify them. And so there's a lot of things, and I've been in law enforcement a long time, and normally when we have issues, drugs, whatever it is, the issues, any social problems, we always kind of throw it on the teachers. Let them handle it. They have the kids all day long, but the teachers went to school to teach, so we need to do whatever we can to allow them to do that and not feel threatened. And I think once we go into the individual schools and explain to them what we're doing, then there are a lot. It's the response we're getting is pretty good.
Yeah. And basically what you've done is become the eyes of the county into the schools, not, and allowing you to tell the officers that are on site, hey, we've got the guy down hallway A, and guide their way in. And we talked about this before about, the best way is to make sure that you get guys with immense amount of training on site as quickly as possible and try to get them to where they do what they're trained to do, and that's disarm or isolate the situation and make it safe. And who can argue with that? It's and there's been this debate, and we've discussed that before, about arming teachers or even body scanners at the entry. But the key thing is, what if? Is someone going to be that trained? And that's the other thing I want to ask you about, some of the resources that are available in Porter County, the MAX Center that they have here now. I just read an article where now they're going to open that up for police training.
Right.
And what county has that? They have all this amazing reason, and thank goodness for the McMillan family making that outreach. It first started as a fire first responder training, but now I see that they're going to, which I mean, when you're in the military, it's repetitive task, muscle memory, and when you're in a situation, you don't have time, and so the immense amount of resources are available for just first responders and to school districts just to keep people safe. That's huge. So we want to commend you for everything you've done, and yes. I've said this again. I think I say Porter County, but now I think the state, and now that you're serving on a national level, the nation has to benefit from your knowledge and what you've done here to make the Porter County citizens safer. So this is all great. We again thank you for coming on the show.
Yes.
You've always been gracious to us and coming on and sharing a wealth of information on what's being done, and we will get this out as soon as possible so parents can look at it and just be reassured. You've got the best sheriff looking after your kids, so
right.
What is there to complain about? But a parent always complains, that's our duty.
Our jobs, yeah.
So, Sheriff, is there anything else you want to share with us?
I appreciate the opportunity, and I think after the governor signs the bill, it's going to be pretty exciting, I think, throughout the state, that the different school systems that haven't really thought of it the way we're thinking about it or have thought about it. But I want to, again, give a special shout out to our Safe School Commission, because it's not one person. It's been a collective group. When I came back, one of the things we said, we're not going to do the committee thing where we'll have all these committees and everybody's got assigned duties. We said we come here, let's just all try to figure this out as a group, and that's what we've done. And I think that's the approach you have to do, because sometimes you go on all these committees and you get hidden in the committees, and what are you really doing? And I think in large part we've been so effective in changing things is because of that approach, and that we've And we've been really lucky with our superintendents that they've just always been supportive of all the things, because we've thrown a lot of stuff at them. The MOUs, the One County, One Protocol, the alert system, and they have supported it totally. And I think the sheriffs, and one of the things we didn't talk about, but the House bill is going to be, that money is all going through the sheriffs. So the sheriffs and the counties will oversee that the specs are complied with, and that's important. And we had some resistance, obviously, from some cities, but I think once they sat back and they thought about it, you get any county's got a lot of cities, but you only have one sheriff. So somebody needs to take that responsibility and work. And if you have different counties with some really big, strong cities, then that sheriff can work with those cities to get it done. But you can't just give it to all the different cities, because then it wouldn't be effective. And I think that's once they understood that, then they'll be fine with it. Because what we need to do is, again, get out of your way, get out of your little silos, and figure out what's, be a part of it. Be a part of the Safe School Commission. It's just not the sheriffs dictating it, but somebody has to make sure it's done right. And I think, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it transcends throughout the state in the next months as we go.
Well, it's good, from the school district's perspective, they've got to feel reassured, because, the State Board of Accounts mandates certain things be done a certain way, and so they have to worry about that. The CFOs that are located in each school district has to worry about that, but to concentrate on all the technical specifications that require to put an amazing system like this, and able to do that, but it's good to have someone who's done this or has the ability to pick up the phone and ask Dave Reynolds, how did you guys do this? Where's the spec? And have that state is going to be hugely beneficial. So it sounds great. We're looking forward to the signing.
Yes.
Hope he does come here to sign it.
That'd be
Yeah,
good.
that'd be great.
That'd be
He should. With that, I thank you again. Appreciate your time and all the efforts that you put forth for all the citizens of Porter County. With that, we'll
And
close
for the
out.
state.
Yeah, across the state and
Absolutely.
nation. So thank you, Dave Reynolds.
All right.
And
Thank
with
you.
that, we'll close out the show.
Thank you,
Goodbye
guys.
for now, and have a safe rest of the weekend.
The Bill and Kelly Show is brought to you by SciFi Donuts, Ray's Movers and Storage, Inc., and Tiger Plumbing.